Use a real world example.
Excuse me. Have you ever thought, Massachusetts, have you ever sat back and actually thought about how I actually kind of think it's funny how. All right, let's get going with the show. We got 5 rounds in the magazine today. Round number 1, it's time to update the safety brief. If you're going to go to the political rallies, look alive. There might be dangerous fruits being tossed, and that shit could kill you. People don't know that, but it could. Round number 2, remember when Ukraine shot down that Russian transport plane, killing hundreds of soldiers in the early days of the invasion? It turns out the U.S. intel actually paved the way for that to happen, along with much, much more. More details are coming out about what the U.S. is doing on the ground in Ukraine. Round number 3, a Navy chief tells a ship full of demoralized, traumatized sailors, quote, "At least you're not in the trenches like the Marines!" Exclamation point there. Ugh.
I have a lot to say about that round. So
yeah. Round number 4, 2 oddball fellows are living in DC's Navy Yard, impersonating federal agents and buying friendships by paying the rent and gifting high-tech toys to several Secret Service and Homeland Security folks who somehow did not find that weird in any way whatsoever. And finally, round number 5, liberty is secured. Everybody say thanks, Madison Cawthorn.
Thanks,
Madison Cawthorn.
This guy is, I have this list of things that Madison Cawthorn's done in the last 2 years. Turns out, even though he was the youngest representative elected since 1964 to Congress, you might need a little wisdom when you actually do become a congressman, which the old fella needs some seasoning. We'll just say that. And all that is brought to you by our good friends at Whistle Pig Whiskey. If you haven't tried it yet, you need to get on it. Whistle Pig is delicious. It's made from 100% rye whiskey that's aged in their barrels right there at the Whistle Pig farm. Piggyback is made with 100% rye whiskey for some bold, full spice flavored. It's a bartender's dream. I'll be honest. I went somewhere last night out to a little bit of a dinner, and they had whiskey, and they had another whiskey that I would say ends up being top end, like a higher end whiskey, usually around $50-$60 a bottle. I tried that after basically drinking exclusively Whistle Pig for the past like 5 or 6 months. That whiskey tasted like fucking trash. I told my wife I would rather have, I think they had that whiskey, and then because they weren't sure if anybody actually drink wine, it was like $2 Chuck type wine from Trader Joe's. I went back up there, and instead of getting this whiskey, I was like, I'm gonna have the $2 Chuck, dude. And like in my brain, I was like, I'm fucking spoiled as shit with Whistle Pig all the time. It's great, but it's a problem when you go places that don't have it. You need to have it everywhere. If you're a bartender and you're not keeping it on tap, what are you doing? It's a bartender's dream. It's perfect for mixing up cocktails. It's aged 6 years, and it has a high of 95.56 proof, which is just a touch above like 43% alcohol by volume, which is pretty damn good. Trust us on this one. It's 100% the good stuff. Get your own bottle at whistlepig.com or whistlepigwhiskey.com or at your local retailers. Let's get going with the actual show today. We got a lot to cover. First up, this one is just, it'll be quick. I just thought it was funny, and it's funny in the face of something that happened this morning. Not funny. President Trump is no longer the president of the United States. So therefore, what he says in the private sector doesn't really matter for the most part right now. He's like going to run for president again. Joe Biden, however, is the president of the United States. And once again, this morning, old fellow was up there talking to the mic, looking legitimately, absolutely brain dead. Like legitimately nothing going on in his brain housing group. He's unloaded.
I look like that all the time. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, at our worst moments when we're looking for words, we're trying to figure out something to say, have never gone kleptography.
Was he trying to say clitoris? Oh,
like he didn't know what he was trying to say. That's the whole problem. Like he doesn't know what he's trying to say. Harris has got COVID. Biden's brain dead. We talked about it last week. Blow it up, just blow America. We need to
blow America.
Blow America. Yes. 2024.
What do you all think about really implementing an age cutoff for not just the president, but for all politicians?
We can't do it. That's why you have to unplug and plug it back in, because old fuck, you think Chuck Grassley's 87-year-old ass in the Senate is going to vote for it? No shot. All these old thugs are going to be up there. They're never going to say, yeah, we're going to have an age limit. but you need one because not only is old Sleepy Joe super, super tired out, might be even comatose Joe at this point, but President Trump sat for a disposition, and I don't even know where the disposition is from. It doesn't really matter where it's from.
I got it. I have all the details for you,
Okay,
pal.
what is it?
So it's a recently released transcript from a deposition that was part of a lawsuit filed by protesters who alleged that they were assaulted by Trump's security guards at a 2015 campaign rally. And the subject of fruit and fruit being thrown is what came up in this part. So here's the person questioning him. Who wants to be Trump?
I'll be Trump.
Okay, I'll be Victor. Okay, and you said that if you see someone getting ready to throw a tomato, just knock the crap out of them, would you? That was your statement?
Where did you start at, Kate? I didn't.
Oh, it's right in the top round. I have it right in there.
Okay, I was actually on the tweet. I was like, oh, where?
Oh, no, I have it all in there.
Oh, great. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's start over again.
Okay. Should we just start the?
No.
Okay.
It's fine.
Okay. And you sound the person questioning Trump here. You said that if you see someone getting ready to throw a tomato, just knock the crap out of them, would you? That was your statement?
Oh, yeah. It was very dangerous.
What was very dangerous?
We were threatened.
With what?
They were going to throw fruit. We were threatened. We had a threat.
How did you become aware that there was a threat that people were going to throw fruit?
We were told. I thought Secret Service was involved in that, actually. And you get hit with fruit. It's very violent stuff. We were on alert for that.
And then this is Trump's attorney, played by Captain Cons.
A tomato is a fruit after all, I guess. It has seeds.
It's worse than a tomato. It was other things, but tomato, when they start throwing that stuff, it's very dangerous. There was an alert out that day.
Who were you speaking to when you said?
The audience.
So you were speaking to the audience when you said that if they saw someone getting ready to throw a tomato, just knock the crap out of them, would you?
That was to the audience. It was said sort of in jest, but maybe a little truth to it. It's very dangerous stuff. You can get killed with these things. I wanted to have people be ready because we put out on high alert that they were going to do fruit and some fruit.
They were going to do a fruit.
Going to do fruit, and some fruit is a lot worse than tomatoes are bad, by the way, but it's very dangerous. They were going to hit, and they're going to hit very hard. Amazing, no? There's a long history in American politicians. Oh wait, no, that's not.
This is not.
You were Ron Burgundy in that
that's
one.
That's kind of where the part.
Real quickly,
I was going to be blown away if Trump went into an explanation of the long history of Americans being hit by fruit. If that was the next line, I was like, wait, I completely take back. If he has the mental faculties to giving the oral history of Americans being hit by fruit at political rallies, put him back in.
Put him back in. Fine.
Let's run it back.
He's awake.
If I told you that was a direct pull from an episode of Veep, you would absolutely believe me.
Oh, yes. 1,000%. It's impossible to do political satire right now. Like if you just the last 3 days, if you wrote it, President Biden standing up there looking like somebody needs to spoon him Jell-O in a nursing home. And then you have fucking Trump talking about the dangers of fruit. But it goes on, Kate. Do you have the rest of it where he goes into breaking down the different types of fruit that are more dangerous than tomatoes?
I do have the tweets in here. Let me see here. Let me pull it up here. Blah, blah, blah. I'm scrolling down. I have the tweet and everything, but I'm looking. I don't see it. There's stuff about legal fees.
Here it is. You said you were talking to the audience, but it's the same true of your security. Do you expect your security to knock the crap out of someone if they see them talk about it? I was talking to the audience. Mr. President, please let me finish the question so we can get the whole record very clear. Is it your expectation that if your security guard sees someone about to throw a tomato, that they should knock the crap out of them? Well, a tomato, a pineapple, a lot of other things they throw. Yeah. If the security saw that, I would say you have to. And it's not just me. It's other people in the audience get badly hurt. Yeah, I think they have to be aggressive in stopping that from happening. Because if that happens, you can get killed if that happens. And getting aggressive includes the use of physical force to stop somebody from throwing pineapples, tomatoes, bananas, stuff like that. Yeah, it's dangerous stuff.
Yeah, and the thing is, he's playing this perfectly. Nobody can prove that he doesn't feel this way, that a tomato could kill you. And so in court, like technically,
well, a tomato maybe not.
You get
hit in the eye with a pokey pineapple top, buddy. You're going down.
Forget it.
I
but
kind of feel like President Trump was a little bit in the right here. Like if you start throwing even the threat of a tomato getting thrown, I think you have to come in hard and heavy with a little bit of a preemptive strike and knock the crap out of people.
I don't know. They have a whole big festival about it in Italy and no one dies. But I digress.
Oh, I think people have died there.
Well, that's because they're drunk. That's because they're so drunk.
Oh,
It's a party. It's a good time. There is a history, though, of American politicians being hit with fruit. Richard Nixon was hit by eggs, tomatoes, and veggies during an anti-war protest in 1970.
So you get smashed with an egg, that could hurt. Like if somebody throws an egg and it's not cracked yet, it hits you right at the right angle, but that could take an eye out. That could kill you.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'm sorry. How would one throw a already cracked egg, Jeffs?
Oh, easy. You just put it in your hand. It's the yolk and you just throw it. That wouldn't hurt.
Okay.
There's no
You
danger
get
in that whatsoever.
salmonella in your eyeball. Forget it. You think banana induced pink eye is bad. Tomatoes were thrown at Hillary Clinton's motorcade during a trip to Egypt in 2012. In 2009, protesters threw tomatoes at Sarah Palin in the Mall of America in Minnesota. He missed both times.
Oh, that's not Minnesota nice.
No, it's certainly not. And then the most famous, of course, wasn't a fruit, but it was the Iraqi journalist who threw both of his shoes at President Bush. Who ducked?
Who throws a shoe?
Honestly.
But it was pretty good reflexes by W too.
Yeah, it was.
W's got to be.
He's an athlete.
I would say he's probably the most athletic president that we've had since Gerald Ford.
His dad. Well, his dad.
Jogs.
No, his dad was a pretty good athlete too.
Yeah, but I don't think HW at his height was nearly as good as. Ford was better than W too, I would imagine.
Are we saying while in the presidency or lifetime?
Lifetime. At any time during their life, was the most athletic. I'd say it'd be Gerald
Teddy
Ford.
Roosevelt.
Teddy Roosevelt
would fuck your day up.
Well, Teddy Roosevelt, boxer for sure.
Eisenhower played football too.
Yeah, but I always think that he's 5'7", so that detracts.
Well,
please get that out of your head.
I would love like the olden days where you could throw tomatoes at. Did anybody really throw tomatoes at comedians? I don't know. I once went to a Gallagher show. Remember Gallagher who smashed the watermelons?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He came to my college and I was like, all my college friends, this is my first attempt at college. I was like, oh my God, it was a Friday night. I'm like, who's coming to the Gallagher show? And they're like, no one, because we're not fucking losers. And I was like, oh, so I went alone.
Kate, you should do a modern Gallagher show in the green screen room at Barstool.
It was
get
the best.
You a big mallet.
I paid money for this ticket. I sat in like the second row. They give you a rain jacket thing to put on, like you're at Niagara Falls. The entire show was just him. He took a tennis racket and was just smacking SpaghettiOs and shit at us and was just throwing food at us the whole show. And he got paid to do that. And I think I'm on a
honestly, that goes against Trump in this whole deposition. Like if that's part of entertainment, maybe it's not that scary.
I don't know.
I'm curious, where did it become in vogue to throw tomatoes? Why tomatoes? Why not apples? Because they would splat.
I think it's I think it's the reusability, like the recycling aspect of it. Tomatoes pop up like that. You waste a tomato, you're going to have a new tomato in like 3 days.
Absolutely.
You start doing that with watermelons, buddy. You're waiting 6 months for another one.
Waiting a long time. That's tough. Anyways, I do love that guy. And I like that this brought out the debate once again, is tomato a fruit? Yeah. They're saying absolutely. So
I think it's a fake
that's
fruit.
Set in stone.
Speaking of that, I saw a TikTok that absolutely blew my mind. Did you know that vegetables are made up? Like vegetable is not a category in botany. Botany, a botanist does not recognize a vegetable or a fruit. It's
so what are they classified
then what is it?
It's just legumes? Parts of it. It's a part of a plant. It was like, what's a carrot? It's part of the root. It has nothing to do with the classification.
That's nerd shit. I don't care.
I know, but it blew my mind. Like when you're sitting there, you start talking about that at the old bar. 23-year-old Kate probably leaves you alone. Honestly,
I do. If you want to be left alone, tell me about that.
Botany doesn't make it move.
No.
Mars botany, outer space botany, yes.
Yeah, shout to Mark Watney.
Oh, growing stuff up, yes, for sure. Hydroponics, yes.
Exactly right. All right, let's move on to round number 2, which today is going to be brought to you by our good friends at Roman. If you haven't had a boner that you're proud of lately, you're not the only one, my friend. It's been how long for you, Con, since you've had a sufficient boner? Don't answer that. That's a HIPAA violation. But the folks at Roman are an online men's health company that are changing the game with men's swipes.
They'll have you thrust in your HIPAAs. You know what I mean?
You exactly right, Kate.
Mhm.
Roman swipes are clinically proven way to last longer in bed. They're effective, easy to use, and fast acting, and don't require a prescription. Roman will send you those swipes in a discreet, unmarked package, and that they're going to be small enough to fit inside your wallet or your coin purse. They're super easy to use. Just take those swipes out, swipe it on, let it dry, and you're good to go. And by good to go, I mean you're cleared for landing, my friend. You're ready to go into the skids and get going with some skids. Make some skid marks, the good kind. Some snail trails.
No, I don't like where that's going.
No.
Nobody calls it the skids. Nobody's going down to Skid Row on
My latest pontoons.
Roman. Wipe it on your genitals.
Yeah, get roman.com/CVT to get $10 off. Even if you're Brazilian and it's covered. Because remember the Brazilian story that they had problems with their dicks, like they had to buy so much Viagra that
the
it was
army
causing a stir.
The soldiers, yes, absolutely. We don't Brazilian shame.
No,
this ad is
it's very good. Let's move on to round number 2. What do we got?
We have, this is a pretty interesting story as this info is coming out months later. As Russia launched its invasion, the U.S. gave Ukrainian forces detailed intelligence about exactly when and where Russian missiles and bombs were intended to strike, prompting Ukraine to move air defenses and aircraft out of harm's way, current and former officials told NBC News. The near real-time intel sharing also paved the way for Ukraine to shoot down a Russian transport plane carrying hundreds of troops in the early days of the war by helping repel a Russian assault on a key airport near Kyiv. You guys remember that, obviously. That was a huge story. I mean, that was one of those, like, our version of a C-130.
Ukraine got it back in a matter of hours, right?
Yeah, it was part of what American officials call a massive and unprecedented intel sharing operation with a non-NATO partner that has played a crucial role in Ukraine's success to date against the larger and better equipped Russian military. And I think for months now, we've all been saying, like, it's incredible how Ukraine has been keeping them at bay. They've been juking, they've been going left when Russia looks like it's going right. And like, wow, how do they, they're keeping them out of the skies and blah, blah. And it turns out it's in large part thanks to our US intelligence community, who's apparently crushing it over there. The details about the air raid defenses and the transport plane, which have not previously been reported, underscore why 2 months into the war, officials assess that intel from US spy agencies, and the Pentagon has been an important factor in helping Ukraine thwart Russia's effort to seize most of the country. NBC said they're withholding a lot of specific details, like they could put it out there, but they've been asked, like, maybe don't. We'll give you this info as long as you keep some of it secret. So
Malcolm Nance got into some trouble about that too, like, because he's been over there on the ground, and he went on MSNBC and was talking about tactics and all kinds of shit. And so many intel people were like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude?"
Dressed up like a cosplayer a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
They always make fun of like
ridiculous.
OPSEC people that are like OPSEC, and they were like, "No, this is legitimate operation security that you are endangering by what you're doing."
Basically, with the help of American intelligence, Ukraine is moving their air defenses and aircraft almost every single day. So Russia cannot establish air dominance. In some cases, the Ukraine moved targeted air defense systems or planes just in time. So like Russia would be getting ready to fire. Ukraine moves their shit out of the way. Russia fires. Bam, they're hitting an empty field. There's been a ton of that going on.
To be on the other end and knowing that you saved a bunch of people by paying attention and knowing what you're doing and being competent in your job, that would be an incredible feeling.
Yeah, one U.S. official said the Russian military has literally been cratering empty fields where air defenses were once set up. It has had an enormous impact on the Russian military's ability on the ground. And
we saw reports of that. Remember, like we would see, like they would use these huge weapons that hadn't even been used before, and it would take out like a barn, like an old barn that was in the middle of a field in the middle of nowhere. And we are all like, why? Well, maybe this is the reason why.
Yeah, this probably explains a lot of things that we've been talking about over the last couple months, and has to be incredibly frustrating and really costly for Russia as well. They're putting in all this effort and they're swinging and missing. While U.S.-Ukrainian cooperation has been building since Russia seized Crimea in 2014, The Biden administration shifted into high gear in the weeks before the Russian invasion, when a U.S. military team visited to assess the state of Ukraine's air defenses. The Americans provided Ukraine with detailed advice on how to disperse their air defense systems, a move that U.S. officials say helped Ukraine prevent Russia from seizing control of the skies. We were talking about how Russia can't seem to get a hold of like air dominance either, and that would be why. Being on one of those teams that went ahead of time, that has to be so fucking cool. Like if that's your bread and butter and you love that shit and you're like getting to practice it in real life, like it has to be cool. Anyway, once the invasion got underway, lawyers in the U.S. defense and intelligence bureaucracy imposed guidance that in some cases limited the sharing of targeting information that could enable lethal Ukrainian strikes against Russians. So basically, like, we could give you this info that would let you take out like 15 tanks right now, but because of the rules of war kind of thing, this is how I'm interpreting it. Like, we can't. And then
and that shit to me is so bullshit. Like,
That's not really the rules of war. It's our own bureaucracy and deciding how we want to be viewed by the rest of the world, I think. And people overthinking the situation
and escalating ourselves.
Right. If they overthink it, they're overthinking like, oh, if we do this and it gets out that we did this, how's that going to be viewed by other people? It's difficult.
But wait, once Russia's aggression deepened and they became more and more asshole-ish and war crimey, the U.S. said, fuck it, basically, tell them everything we know. They lifted, under pressure from Congress, they lifted all those impediments, and now it's like game the fuck on. So that was only the beginning.
I mean, once the rest of the world just all collectively said, like, looked around and said, like, we all agree Russia's pretty bad, right? And everyone nods up and down. I think that opened the floodgates for us to help.
And Biden putting out a $33 billion package today, too. It's like, you're not exactly on the sidelines.
Yeah, we're not hiding it. We're in an open proxy war with Russia right now, essentially, is how I see it. We're pretty much at war with them through Ukraine. So earlier this month, another thing that they were doing, at first, we weren't allowed to share intelligence to help Ukraine recapture territory either. It was more of a preventative, keep them from getting attacked kind of thing. And that's also, it's like, fuck it, never mind. We're going to help them retake shit too. We're going to give them intel on like recapturing their cities and shit as well. Ukrainian forces have used specific coordinates shared by the U.S. to direct fire on Russian positions, aircraft. And so I feel like basically it's almost like we're giving them the drone coordinates. So like, it's almost like we're like controlling a drone and Ukraine is the drone and we're like controlling them and telling, does that make any sense what I'm saying? Like,
sort of, but it's like, I think that almost using the drone, I understand the analogy, but like it almost implies that they're not wanting that. It'd be like the drone being like, give me coordinates. I need coordinates. Like, the drone really wants to and needs to protect it. To me, what's going on now, like the rest of the world leaders just really stepping up and not mincing words anymore about Russia, like, and just saying Putin's a bad person, he needs to go. That has been the case for a long time, but it's odd to see politicians here and around the world kind of be in lockstep together, except for Rand Paul, apparently.
Yeah, except for Rand Paul. The CIA is also devoting significant resources to gathering intel to protect Ukrainian President Zelensky. The agency is consulting with Ukrainians on how best to move him around and make sure that he's not co-located with his entire chain of command, things like that. The foreknowledge we had of Russian plans and intentions to show that our intel was basically like everything's playing out like our intel was spot the fuck on with everything is basically how it's going right now. One Western intelligence official noted that it's not only the intel that has proven decisive, it's the performance of the Ukrainians using it.
Right.
The source said Ukrainians have fought the Russians with agility and courage, and when they have received actionable intel, they move with astonishing speed. They're not fucking around. If you are the intel people giving them this is the best possible people to be taking it because they mean fucking business. McLaughlin said the Ukrainians have made clever use of so-called open source intel, commercial satellite images, intercepts of Russian walkie-talkies, stuff like that.
Using Starlink from Elon Musk.
Yeah, basically the fact that there is so much open source intel available means that collecting classified intel can focus on things that are really hard and not publicly available. As the Ukrainian government sees it, intelligence sharing has improved. It's gotten better. So it's just pretty interesting. Like I would love later on years from now, I would love to sit down with somebody who's like spearheading this. And I bet the stories they could tell, insane.
And it's interesting to watch the intelligence wins after what has felt like years and years of intelligence losses. like to get it right. It kind of restores your faith a little bit in the intelligence
Like after the
community.
end of Afghanistan, it was like, how the
Right.
fuck did we not see exactly how this is going to play out? Like, what the fuck? You're right.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
even things here like January 6th, when the intel was there and the FBI didn't act on it really at all.
Right.
Like it's nice to see an intelligence win for sure.
yeah. So
Where we
woohoo.
did not see a win was when a Navy chief went out and talked to some of his people on the aircraft carrier, right, Kate?
Right. This is round number 3. And we got a DM at ZBT from somebody who works there. I'm just going to read it really quick. Y'all talked about the issues with the Navy a couple shows ago. It's worse than you might realize. I'm a Marine vet now that works at the shipyard that builds and refuels the aircraft carriers. The weekend before Easter, 2 sailors committed suicide, and it took the CO a few days to make a statement and even longer to have a stand down about it. Despite that, despite at least one of the sailors leaving notes commenting on the lack of quality of life and stating that no one in the command would listen to him, the ship still went ahead with requiring work above and beyond watch standards over Easter weekend, resulting in a 3rd suicide. And again, like, we don't know for sure, whatever, but this is, I trust the scuttlebutt that I hear from these things, from the people on the ground. I'm hoping you 3 can do your thing and bring light to this situation, since y'all and I both know that just one military brother or sister feels this helpless is too much. So here's the CO's stand down last Friday, and he sent me this article from Jeff Skogel at Task and Purpose, and he's really angry about how this went, because he's this Marine vet's like firsthand on the ground there, and he sees that, and I feel that this is pretty unacceptable the way this went. So the crew of the aircraft carrier USS George Washington is going through an awful time. At least 7 sailors from the ship have died in the past year, including 1 confirmed suicide and 3 possible other suicide deaths that are under investigation. The total number of crew members who have died in the past 10 months could be as high as 10. At any given time, a few hundred sailors out of the ship's crew of 2,700 are living and working aboard the aircraft carrier, which has been stuck since 2017 at a shipyard in Newport News, Virginia, undergoing massive refueling and complex overhaul that is running years behind schedule. Some members of the crew have not had hot water or power in their living spaces for more than 2 months. And this was told to them by a Navy veteran who asked not to be identified to avoid the Navy retaliating against sailors he knows who are still active duty. And you only do that when you feel that is the most probable course of action, is that, no, we'll be retaliated against if we speak up about this, which shows toxic already.
Mm-hmm.
Yet when the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, Russell Smith, visited the ship on April 22nd, his message to the George Washington's crew was that,
Whoa,
do you guys want to guess?
We totally fucked up the round up. So we said Navy Chief. This is coming from the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy. This is the equivalent of the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, or the Sergeant Major of the
Did
Army.
I say that? Did I write
No,
it
it said
wrong?
Chief. It said Chief.
Yeah, it
The
said
Master
chief as in
No,
like
no.
this-
So
This
this is the highest enlisted sailor in the entire Navy.
the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy. Very
This would be
different.
like this would be like in the Marine Corps, the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. This is the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy.
Right.
Yes, Russell Smith. He visited the ship on April 22nd to, all this shit's going down. 10 sailors have died in a year on this ship. Morale is low. He visits. What would you guys, if you were him, what would your message be? What do you think the heart of the message in a sentence or two?
We understand that you're going through a tough time. We're going to get as many counseling services as we possibly can. We owe it to you as your senior leaders to do everything that we possibly can to make sure that your lives are as good as possible, and you are valuable members of the Navy, and America appreciates you. And we're going to make sure that everything on this ship goes looks the way that America really feels about those that are defending our freedom.
Yeah, and I would really impress upon them, please give me your honest feedback so that we can fix this without fear of retaliation, as they put it, and without fear of ratting anyone out or anything of that nature. Because if they don't know the problems, then they can't solve the problems.
So basically, combined, I hear you, I see you, it is a problem, and we are going to do everything we can to fix this and take care of you. But nope, that was not his message to the crew at all. Instead, his message was more along the lines of, suck it up, things could always be worse. What you're not doing is sleeping in a foxhole like a Marine might be doing, Smith told sailors. What you are doing is going home at night, most nights, unlike the deployed aircraft carrier Harry S. Truman. So when you're here, Some of it is that you have more stability in that you're here. The downside is some of the shit you have to go through logistically will drive you crazy. Smith's remarks were part of his answer to a member of George Washington's crew who had asked him if there were any plans to make the ship more habitable for sailors during the overhaul. The sailor said crew members face numerous challenges while the George Washington is in the shipyard, including lack of parking. And that sounds small, but if you've ever had to desperately find a spot and then in the windy, shitty weather of winter down in Newport News, walk like a mile to your shit, like bullshit like that.
And they get yelled at for being late, even though there's no parking anywhere around.
And getting your car towed, getting a ticket, like that shit adds up and kills morale. Lack of hot water, shitty ship meals, and other examples of living standards that aren't necessarily up to par. Smith took issue with the sailor's use of the phrase up to par. Hey, you guys can tell me anything. I don't like the way you said that, sailor. Like, what the fuck? Smith took issue with the sailor's use of the phrase up to par, explaining that it's common for crew members on ships going through an overhaul to have to walk a long way to find working toilets. He added that he's dealt with shortcomings throughout his Navy career. And I hate that so much. I see it on Facebook all the time from old timers. Well, you know, somebody will post their entire room could be covered in cancer-causing mold, and some old timers like, well, I lived with it, so don't be a bitch. It's like,
all it cost me was my teeth.
So I have a little thyroid cancer. Well, don't be a cunt about it. You know, it's like I hate that it sucked for me, so it's fine that it also sucks for you mentality. I do not understand that, especially from a leader. Anyways, one of my favorite moments from the aircraft carrier Lincoln in dry dock was watching Captain Retired Admiral Carr walking past me with a towel over his shoulder. Smith said. I was like, sir, where are you going? He goes, I'm trying to find a working shower. There was no hot water in my head. And so no one's immune to it. He's telling stories like, hey, look, it used to suck for us too. And so it's no big deal that it sucks for you.
You guys ever heard that George Washington had wooden teeth?
You got real ones. So look at you now.
You're able to go down to Navy Dental. It's way better.
George Washington's first boat was a canoe on the Delaware. Look at you now. You got a whole bedroom down there. Smith acknowledged that the crew's concern about not enough parking was legitimate, but he cautioned that sailors should have reasonable expectations about what can be done about it. He also said that it would not be cost effective to serve food on the George Washington all day instead of during meal times. He added that sailors who serve the George Washington, the reactor division, have access to food overnight, even if it's not a gourmet meal. Moreover, the food available to the ship's crew is still better than what is available to special operators and other troops who live in Spartan conditions while deployed, he argued. I hate this so much. You could be in the middle of Afghanistan and still find yourself a hot meal at any time. If you were on Leatherneck or some shit like that, where I could go get pecan ice cream at 1 a.m. if I fucking wanted to. I know you could figure out a little something to give these troops something better. Anyway, no one is telling a Marine, oh, you thought he was done being annoying? Think again. No one is telling a Marine that he's out in the field or a SEAL that's on a boat on a river. Hey, I'm going to get you that hot meal tonight, Smith said.
But the difference is you're not.
Right.
Like, that's
exactly.
the difference. Like, if you were going and you were making the complaint and you're in the middle of Syria and bombs are falling around you, you're not going to look around and be like, I could really go for some hot porridge. But when you're in fucking Virginia and you're at a permanent place of duty, having minimal human condition standards should be the minimum. And constantly comparing things to Marines and what special operators go through, that's not what you signed up to do. Like, you're not doing that at that moment. So what the fuck does it matter?
And like, I know.
I just think it's an unfair comparison.
Him saying like, oh, I hear you that the parking sucks, but there's nothing we can do. Like,
and that one is true. Like that one.
No. That's not true. That immediately my brain said, okay, find a lot a few miles away, have the government toss some money at it, like we have tossed money at everything, and get a shuttle bus that goes 24 hours and makes it easy so they don't have to like get tickets or walk or whatever. Find a gate, like figure it out. The fucking Phillies do that for their concessions workers. It's like, I know you can do that for your sailors. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, but the difference there is that they're paid customers, not those that are getting paid to do shitty work. Like, I understand what you're saying, but I think the parking problem is going to take a little while, but you have to be flexible, figure out shifts on how to get people in and out at the same time. And just like you would do in like MP units where you have a mid shift, a late shift and things like that. So you can have people constantly influxing. So you don't have to have everybody at the ship during the same time. I'm
just saying, like, I know there's an answer. It's
there
bullshit
is definitely
that he's
answers.
saying if he's the the head of the enlisted of the Navy, like, I know you could sit down with a little think tank and in a day or two figure it out. I
Tell
know
all the chiefs there to shit an answer and have it in 3 hours and they'll figure it out. Like,
I
that's
know
what
they
orders
would.
mean.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyways, still the quality of food aboard, even when they do get hot meals, the quality of food aboard U.S. Navy ships has been called into question. In 2020, Navy veteran Kevin Selfison posted pictures on Facebook of rotten and disgusting food that was served on aircraft carriers, the USS Nimitz and Roosevelt. We covered that story. The food was fucking disgusting.
Like
Moldy,
maggots,
stuff like that. It's also worth noting that, again, he covers here, chow halls in Iraq and Afghanistan consistently served a variety of fresh food, including steak and lobsters over the last 20 years, even in countries that were at most violent levels. So like you're saying, like, whatever. As for why sailors need to live on board the George Washington while it's still in the shipyard, Smith explained the Navy cannot simply move an entire crew off to carrier until all the work is done, because you also don't want to not have this thing manned if a fire breaks out or something. We've been through that. And like, of course, yes, they have to live there, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know why you can't make it at least a little bit. He says, when someone walks by you at Starbucks when you're in uniform and says, thank you for your service, this is one of the things that they're thanking you for, because they know that they can't or they chose not to do a thing that you are doing, Smith said. And without you, we don't have a capital ship. Without you, we don't have national defense.
See, I think that line, I don't mind that part. I think that he's right in that regard.
No,
I think that saying you are doing hard things, but just because you are willing to do hard things and you signed up to do hard things doesn't mean it has to be made harder by incompetence.
Right. And it doesn't mean that we shouldn't explore ways to ease that hardship if we have it in our power to do so. I agree with you,
hard
there.
just because you're
people
military.
at Starbucks aren't thanking you for getting treated like shit, like substandard, like nobody should be treated. They should have hot water. They should have electricity in their berthing area. They should have a place to park their fucking cars that's not dangerous for people to leave work at night. Like, that's not, people at Starbucks aren't thanking you for being treated like a fucking.
Well, I think they're treating you for doing a hard job that other people don't want to do. And I think that's one of the parts of it. Like, people know that this type of thing happens. That doesn't excuse the fact that it happens, but people do know that doing things in the military sucks. Like, it's just part of the job, but it can be better. I mean, and one of those ways that you look around can be better. Look at the way the Air Force and the Coast Guard treats their people comparatively to the way that the Marine Corps and Army do. Like, it doesn't have to be this difficult. The Air Force still does a great job as far as being combat ready. We don't have control of the skies without the Air Force. We don't have control of mainland America without the Coast Guard. These two branches are incredibly important for what we do in America, and they treat their people with dignity and respect for the most part. The Marine Corps, Army, and Navy just flat out do not. Honestly, as a dad, if one of my kids came up to me and said what branch of service should be, the Army and Marine Corps are way behind. I
was gonna say, don't you do you agree that I think certainly the Army and Marines and maybe to a lesser extent the Navy almost enjoy operating with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. Like, look how hard it is for us.
Dude,
and although they recognize that it is hard and that there's ways that they could improve upon it, there's not as much effort put forth because they like being able to say, like, look at this, look at us. We're tough and we can endure all this.
Look at two of our posts from this week on ZBT's Instagram account of the two barracks rooms. One that was from Quantico from MSG, and she was able to have like some things on their wall. She had like some nice fake plants.
It looked nice and
like
homey.
it looked inviting
nice.
and it looked like home. Both Marines and Army. Like, if you were in the infantry, you do that, a fucking sergeant major nut on your own back. Like, oh my God. Like, it's the hardest thing in the history. You do this, they'll burn that fucker down. That's the fucking problem. Like, it's not a badge of honor to make it more difficult for your people.
Right.
It's stupid. Like, if you are in a deployed zone and you say nothing on the tent walls, nothing anywhere, we need to be able to pick up and go fast and be out of here without leaving a trace behind, I'm all about that. What the fuck does that have to do with anything when you're living in 29 Palms, California? Zero.
I have no idea.
And I mean, this goes back to, remember what I said, like, when this is weeks ago, I said this when I was talking to my therapist and I said, oh, you know, things could always be worse. And he said, don't do that. Don't dismiss how you're feeling. So just like he said that to me, these sailors, you know, are there other people in the military who currently are living in worse conditions? Absolutely. But that's not you. And you don't have to just accept it because it could be worse. So don't dismiss what you're feeling, and the leadership shouldn't just dismiss it. I understand that some problems are easier to fix than others, but they should take them all under advisement and see what they can do, and not just dismiss.
I guess I got so heated about his dismissal and the Starbucks comment, all that, because 10 sailors are dead.
Right.
Like, are you serious? That's what you're going to say when there's 10 dead sailors from one ship? That's your answer? Are you
10
kidding
of their
me?
buddies that they're with all the time.
Like that's
you're 2,700 deep. You know, basically everybody on that ship.
And to me, when that is happening, it is clearly at a level where maybe these sailors can't say everything at this, where they're asking questions to him because they don't want to get themselves in trouble. But clearly it's at a level that is wildly unacceptable. And nothing he said there to me was an acceptable answer to what is going on. So on a lighter note, we asked, tell us about a time your command tried to boost morale and it actually worked. And the bar is so low. It does not take much. It does not take much to raise morale and raise spirits and make people happier in their workplace. Like, our bar is so low. Here's some of the answers that we got. And some of these are so simple. Early out program. I took advantage of it. You could get out early if you had college lined up. I think I got out like 6 or 7 months early. Thailand, getting to go on Livo in Thailand, of course. Actually approving leave. Getting to go home early. A lot of people said zonk, like when you show up to work on a Friday morning and your command's like, you know what, zonk, go take some extra time for yourself. Somebody said got a Friday off to go paintballing for free. I love this one. EA Whaley said, I had a commander who realized everyone hated going to PT. To make it fun, he found people who specialized in different fitness domains and had them form groups. We had a running group, a CrossFit group, hypertrophy. What is that? I don't know. Rowing, regular PRT, and something else. He would even find local fitness instructors like yoga and have them come in. We did competitions against each other, and every quarter we'd do a big competition or event. And like, people loved it and got into PT, and it wasn't a drag waking up at 05
That's a
anymore.
great idea. So super simple.
This goes back to what we've talked about too, about exercising and being fit for your job. The days of, extend to the left exercise.
Extend. Like, oh my God.
Well, I think that's so silly. And I just think you need to adapt and stop just saying like, this is how it's always been done, so this is how we're going to keep doing it. Because I think you're going to continue to have people who are just mentally unfit to continue doing their jobs. I bet
a lot of days, if you're a platoon leader, a platoon sergeant, and you take your 13, 14 group out and you guys go play pickup basketball, even if other people suck, you play full court basketball. My unit for an hour
did that,
and a half,
and I loved it.
Guarantee you run more than you do if you just go for a little unit run, and you have camaraderie. You build in a little physical aspect where people are pushing against each other. You're probably going to have a little bit of fisticuffs where people are getting a little too intense, and you have to tell them to back it down or push forward and things like that. You get into some conflict. It's great. Like, why not do that kind of thing?
My unit did that at lunch, all ranks. So you'd be like playing defense on your commander, whatever, and like we loved it. Unit PT should be about building unit cohesion, if you ask me.
And that helps the seniors identify leadership techniques that some of the other ones have. Like, how are they getting the group together? Are they keeping everybody's morale up? We've missed 5 shots in a row. How are we going to respond? Like those types of things. But you can also go too far with that as like a leader and be like, what are you going to do now? Okay, you missed 3 shots in a row. You missed 3 shots in a row in Fallujah. What happens? You take a 4th shot. You take that 4th shot. If it's there, you take that fucking 4th shot.
It could. I like...
By the way, really quickly, sorry, when we did ultimate football one day, and then sometimes you got a jerk who goes a little too hard and tries a little too hard, and then you end up with stitches in your hand because your hand went into somebody's mouth when you were trying to knock down a pass.
One of those.
I bet Connor gets pulled aside by the XO or like the major and be like, I understand you're fiery there, Lieutenant, but we gotta bring it back a couple notches.
Bring it down. This next one I love. Seabutt said, our gunny ran a custom omelet bar on Sundays and cooked it all himself. I'll never forget it.
Wow.
Like if this ship had Sunday mornings, there's a huge donut spread, and whatever rank on the ship brings in a ton of donuts for everybody. It costs what? Maybe $100, and it shows people, I appreciate you. And I know this sucks. Like, something so small. This guy said he'll never forget it.
Yeah, but I disagree. I think if that happens and somebody
The
brings in a
Chiefs
spread
are
of
going to eat all
donuts,
the donuts.
and
all the
well,
Chiefs.
and also we're on the show like 10 people died and you brought fucking donuts. Like that's the thing that
But I'm saying small things to show that people are
Yes.
appreciated. Be like, listen, I know that this has been a rough fucking year, and I know this doesn't cover for it, but we're gonna make efforts. This is one of the first small. Like, I just think it doesn't take.
it's like those sexual assault sheet cakes that they give out.
Yeah,
It just makes everybody
yeah.
feel better.
Sorry about the assaults. Look at this. It's the strawberry filling. 5-3E said Sergeant Major requested extra duty NCOs, made them dig a hole and buried a pig, bought a keg, and proceeded to have them provide guard duty while he smoked a pig in palm leaves for a full Polynesian barbecue the next day for everyone. And they all loved it. Even the people apparently, people just delighted in it. My unit made us do a mandatory camping trip for all single Marines. To this day, it was one of the funnest morale building things I've ever participated in. I love
That's a shock. That is like that was successful is shocking to me.
Yeah, because I mean, he says mandatory camping trip. That just to me feels like, hey, you're going to the field.
Getting online and fucking police calling all the Capri Sun packages
if it's done the right way. We had a couple field mess nights when I was in the Marine Corps where we slept out on the beach and could drink it was like you could drink as much as you wanted. We had a bonfire, and those nights, like, yeah, set up and take down sucked, but those nights were so much fucking fun. Like, I can see that, especially people join from all backgrounds. A lot of people have never been camping before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a great way to get into it. Anyway, this guy said, my battalion sent me and 2 other guys from each battery on an all-day fishing trip on a Thursday out of the blue with no restrictions, no strings attached. Paid $15 for a fishing license, spent the entire day drinking beer and fishing. Most wholesome Marine Corps experience I ever had.
Now, listen, how about we do this? If you are cons, let's place you back in position, battalion XO, something like that. You come in, you are going to have battalion PT, and you're going to do like, I used to love the days when we would do the obstacle courses, when we would have like obstacle course races or what are they called? Those fucking
confidence course?
Not trust. Yeah, confidence course. So we had those types of things going on. If you looked around at the Groupons in the area, like say you're in San Diego, and it's like, oh, we got a deep sea fishing trip. You don't tell the troops before, but if your team of 5 comes in with the quickest time combined, then you guys get to go out and have like a deep sea fishing trip for the day while everybody else does station beautification. Like have incentives that are built in where your people get to go out and do experiencing fun things. And it would cost you like $50-$60 as the staff NCOs and officers of the group to pay for your junior troops to do that. That kind of thing goes a long way if you actually care about them.
I saw something here where if your PFT score or whatever was above a certain thing, you didn't have to come to PT like once or twice a week.
I did that.
And then they said
everybody's
scores skyrocketed because everybody wanted like that out. I'll just read a couple
with me
more.
At 0.6 or get a 275 or above.
I'll just read a couple more here. Cigars at the end of a field exercise, like just a little treat. It's like a reward, you know.
That
and then
shit
this
is awesome. Like having the whole squad, the smoking lanterns lit, everybody's ripping cigs or cigars together and just sitting around and talking. Love it.
Love a good
not
cig circle.
cigs. No.
I
Just
like
cigars. Get your dirty cigs out of here.
I would have a clove. I would have a clove.
Oh,
be a clove.
Light up a cigar.
Finally, this one after an 08-09 OEF deployment, had one shift, 4-day work weeks with multiple 96s sprinkled in for about 4.5 months. That command was all about its people. Even being on a boat for 7 months with that squadron wasn't bad. Shocker alert, when your people are treated well, they put out a superior product. And other people had said like, oh, we were in the field for 2 months. When we got back, our command made sure we made up for those lost weekends by tacking on 72s, 96s. They showed us that our time was important and they appreciated us and it mattered. And
when you have to do extra stuff, you don't care because you know that they're going to give it back to you on the other side. And if you're doing it, it's actually necessary.
And yes, I know it's the military. I know parts of it do suck. And it is really, there are things that are just hard and that is what it is. But again, clearly this ship is a different story and what's going on there and they need something. We got hundreds of answers on our Zero Blog 30 Twitter and Instagram. Maybe send them to that chief. Give them a couple ideas. Tell them about my donuts, guys. That'll fix it.
We'll do it for you. We'll tag them in the episode so we can listen and get some better ideas.
You know what? If you're on that ship, you know what I would tell that chief as an example? Hey, chief, like if our Navy continued to do things one way in battle and every time they did it this way, the ship got completely blown up and everybody was killed, would we keep doing it that way?
I don't think we would say that because it's the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy. And
well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. But, right? Like, use a real world example.
Sir, excuse me.
Oh,
Have
good
you
luck
ever
on
thought, Massachusetts, have you ever sat back and actually thought about how I actually kind of think it's funny how. Let's move on to round 3. What do we got?
We are goofing, my friend. We're at another Navy yard.
Oh,
Slightly
here we
different.
go.
This is from Emily Davies at the Washington Post. This story is bizarre to me. And I don't know if you guys are looking. I have a photo at the top here of one of the gentlemen in the story in his closet, surrounded by a bunch of weapon cases and military looking gear. Anyways, the 2 men accused of posing as Department of Homeland Security employees while living inside a luxury apartment in the Navy Yard neighborhood of DC pleaded not guilty Tuesday to charges of impersonating federal law enforcement and unlawful possession of a gun magazine that holds bullets. Arian Taherzadeh, age 40, and Haider Ali, age 35, were indicted by a grand jury in federal court after an investigation uncovered what prosecutors allege was an elaborate scheme that involved the men pretending to be federal agents while cozying up to real members of the U.S. Secret Service.
Now, let's see how this actually unfolds, because I feel like a lot of times lately in the past decade, news journalists and the media in general have been playing very fast and loose with some of these terminologies that they have here. Like, is it really an elaborate scheme? I feel like that's a high bar. We'll see if it passes it.
I think this might be. So they have denied a plot. They're being accused of infiltrating the intelligence agency or having a plot to. And they're saying, no, we just were acting out of a desire for friendship. So you were just befriending all sorts of people in the federal government in a specific area for just to make friends. Since the FBI arrested the men in early April, prosecutors have scrambled to understand the scope and ruse that unfolded inside the Crossing apartment complex, where they amassed a stockpile of police weapons, surveillance equipment, devices to make federal government ID cards, and access codes to federal agents' homes.
When in a group of friends, that's what you do.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hey,
absolutely.
Welcome. Come on in. I was just about to make you a military ID card.
Yeah, I'm watching Chaps' house cameras all the time, just sitting here with my popcorn. What's everybody up to? They have accused the men of ingratiating themselves with members of the Secret Service assigned to protect the First Lady, saying defendants were not merely playing dress up. They created a potential risk to national security. Taherzadeh, who told people he was also a former Army Ranger, he's not,
of course,
provided members of the this part to me, shame on the Secret Service at DHS, folks. He provided members of the Secret Service and an employee of the Department of Homeland Security with items including rent-free apartments. And the rent for each of these apartments was over $40,000 a year. iPhones, surveillance systems, a drone, a flat screen TV, a case for storing an assault rifle, a generator, and law enforcement paraphernalia.
Wait, he gave this to actual agents?
Yes, and they were accepting these things. They were living rent-free. They were accepting these electronics from this guy. He had access to their homes. Like, what?
Yeah, and the
fuck?
fucked up thing, because DHS and Homeland Security, they both report to the president because they're part of the executive branch. They can easily get away with it because we asked President Biden and he said yes. And be like, I don't remember if I said yes, and you have to believe it. Because
you have to believe
Biden's
it.
not going to remember if he told
right,
yes
he didn't
or not.
know. He was snoozing.
That's like when my kids say Dad said, and I'd be like, oh, I have short-term memory. I don't know if I said if Kelsey could go to the mall. It sounds like something that I would do, but maybe not.
Well, these people who I think are supposed to be on the lookout and be able to smell this shit out from a mile away befriended these 2 guys and were accepting all sorts of shit from them and giving them access to who knows what. Prosecutors, because they believe these men were part of apparently members of the Homeland Security Department, whatever. Prosecutors said the men proudly advertised their affiliation with DHS when in fact they worked for a purported security company run by Taherzadeh, with only him and the other guy as an employee. And it was called United States Special Police.
I love it.
He just made up a company.
That should be the Secret Service's new name, the Special Police.
United States Special Police.
Oh, man. But then all the other police would be like, well, we're special, too. It's like, you're damn right you are, you little adorables.
Yeah. You guys are United States Extra Special
Police. A bunch
Police.
of little bunny rabbits. Like a
Taherzadeh later admitted to law enforcement his company's name was an embarrassing misrepresentation that got out of control. Do you think he just enjoyed cosplaying and it spiraled? I don't know.
Oh yeah. He did one too many train conductor simulators online and then went to police simulator and he just got real into it.
I am a federal agent now. Assistant U.S. Attorney Joshua Rothstein said Hyder Ali also posed a flight risk, citing his past travel and unsubstantiated claim from one witness that he had ties to Pakistani intelligence services. Ali, a natural U.S. citizen, has traveled at least twice to Pakistan, once to Egypt, once to Iraq, and apparently obtained a Pakistan national identity card in 2019. He also traveled to Iran between July 2019 and 2020. So this could be a lot worse than people think. It could be two guys who are just weirdos, or it could be a lot more than that. U.S. Magistrate Judge Michael Harvey pressed the government to establish what the seized evidence was part of. Like, is this business legitimate? Where are they getting these gifts and apartments from? Like, do they actually have money? And if so, where the fuck are they getting it from? Like, they're so confused by this case. Nobody knows where the fuck these two guys
Reddit's gonna figure it out. I bet by the time we come back on Tuesday, we'll have a Reddit thread that completely figured out where these guys are from.
Yes, and they're trying to figure out, like, one of his questions was like, you don't know how much these two guys paid with cash, or like, is it all on credit? Are they like the Anna Delveys of the Navy Yard down in DC right now?
Because once these types of things get on like TikTok and Reddit, it's solved. Did you guys see that they're doing that with the Johnny Depp trial? Like certain TikTokers are going through some of the different things about Johnny Depp. And one of them was Amber Heard said, I use this type of makeup to cover up my bruises. And TikTok people were like, oh, well, let's see about that. They go in and they find out that that type of makeup wasn't actually released until 2017, and the event took place in 2014. They brought it to Johnny Depp's lawyer, showed him, and they used those TikToks to impeach the evidence against Amber Heard or against Johnny Depp.
Further proof that I've long said these days, you're better off not trying to commit crimes or and do bad things, because you'll just get caught.
Redditors look into this
Redditors
case,
never sleep.
Because it seems that everyone involved in this case is just so confused by it. Nobody knows who these two guys, like, what their fucking deal is. Are they crazy cosplayers? Are they spies?
What do you think the response would be if you showed up back at work as one of the actual DHS agents and they're like, did you guys get fucking free houses from somebody that worked for the U.S. Secret Police or Special Police?
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
You know what? In their defense, I can't imagine these Secret Service. I mean, maybe some of the newer guys that don't have as much tenure. They're government employees. Their salary is probably not astronomical. So they're, if there's a way to save a few bucks each month and somebody gives you a free apartment, who among us? Who's going to say no to a free apartment? Would you accept,
let's say we got a text that came in. It was a group chat and it was from the Saudi Crown Prince. And he was like, Cons. Ooh. I've been listening to ZBT, love your takes, huge West Point football guy. I would love to pay your rent at your Hoboken
Cons
apartment.
Would flip on us in a heartbeat.
I think I would take it. I mean, if the Crown Prince, if anybody said, listen, I just want to pay your mortgage, I'd be like, okay.
Cool. You pay off the whole thing, but if you want.
Yeah, I'd have to ask him if I'd still be allowed to drive. I love a good road trip.
True.
This story, though,
I don't think you'd be allowed to if it's the Crown Prince making the decision. You wouldn't be able to drive anymore, Kate.
Well, maybe he wouldn't see me as a woman. Maybe he'd be like, she's just a goofball.
Bust out the kitchen shears, get it a little bit higher and tighter.
I don't know. So
this story reminds me.
It is.
I feel like everybody had this growing up. Everybody had like the one friend who had like the cool toys or whatever, and they weren't necessarily somebody you were really friends with, but you were kind of nice because you wanted to go over to their house and jump on the trampoline or use their go-karts, or maybe they had the new Sega game and you didn't really ask questions, but you just kind of showed up and abused it. I think that's what happened to the Secret Service guys here.
Yeah, that reminds me of my friends Justin and Ryan when I went to Lake Asbury Elementary School in Middleburg, Florida, and they had one of the only houses on the area on actual Lake Asbury, which is a beautiful, beautiful lake. And I still to this day maintain that it has the cure for canker sores, which is also known as herpes, on your lip, because I would get sun poisoning and get one, and when I would go swimming at their house and just let my lip soak in that lake, the canker sore would go away automatically. And they were also really nerdy. I didn't really like hanging around them a whole lot, but they had an awesome house. They had like the Papa Shot
See?
in their basement where you could go in and play basketball and stuff like that. And I hope my mom isn't listening to this episode. Their mom, Justin and Ryan's mom, was the first time I saw real titties in real life.
What?
Because I had woke up early and went to go out and watch TV, and their mom came out from the shower with just a towel around her waist, and I was like, "Holy shit, that's real tits."
And how old were you?
I was probably 13,
All right.
12.
All right.
It was dope. Huge nipples. I was taken aback. I thought that's what all adult nipples look like. Was very relieved.
Don't they?
No. I mean, these things look like you could only fit 2 of them on like a 6-inch sub from Subway. like a red softball cut down the middle and placed right there. With bumps like a pomegranate. BetterHelp will help you get rid of all of your therapy needs. People don't only realize that physical symptoms like headache, teeth grinding, and even digestive issues can be indicators of stress. And let's not forget about doom scrolling, sleeping too little, sleeping too much, undereating and overeating. Stress shows up in all kinds of ways in your life. Here's a reminder to take a little beat for yourself and do something for yourself. And maybe that's try a little bit of therapy. From my experience working with BetterHelp, it's great. They have family therapy, individual therapy, couple therapy, basically any type of therapy that you want. It's an online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions for your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera, even if you don't want to. Give it a try and see why over 2 million people have used BetterHelp online therapy. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/0. That's BetterHelp.com/0. Let's move on to round number 4. What do we got there?
I'll tell you what, he's at it again, folks. Yeah, our boy is goofing.
Okay.
Yeah, he is goofing hard.
Okay.
We're going to have to update the safety brief. He's punching trees. He's taking ladies for creepy joyrides in his
Forgot about the
car.
tree punching. I'm sorry. I forgot about that. That's ridiculous.
He's telling people about all the orgies and the blowskis and the cocoonsbees, cocainesbees, whatever you want to call them. He's just rip roaring.
He's
We're talking about
absolutely goofing.
Madison Cawthorn. Okay. Every congressional rose has a Cawthorn, as they say. You know what I mean?
They do.
So, woo-hoo, this is the one. He was cited on Tuesday for having a gun at a security checkpoint in Charlotte Douglas International Airport, police said. The second time he's
What do you
violated
got,
rules.
Madison? A knife, a gun.
No,
No!
no.
No.
He was running around the above ground pool in the airport with a gun.
Well,
And all
rolling.
the parents were okay.
I mean, you're not wrong.
No.
You're not wrong. Sorry.
Okay. Neither here nor there. He was cruising around that pool with a gun.
Cruising. That's a good way to describe it.
Thank you.
There's
This is the second time he's violated rules to prohibit traveling with firearms and carry-on bags. He was cited for possession of a dangerous weapon on city property and then released, according to the PD, local PD. Authorities took possession of the loaded gun, which police say is standard procedure. The incident occurred about 9 a.m. when TSA officers spotted a gun in a bag. And then they saw that Madison Cawthorn was in line and they said, oh, this has to be his. A police report indicates officers recovered a staccato C2. I prefer a stucco, and it's got a lot of good grip to it. You know what I mean? It's a little
yeah.
crumbly. I prefer a stucco C2. What are we doing? Anyway, I had 9mm rounds. The gun was loaded.
Construction material jokes today. I love that.
He didn't have it caulked. Thank God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
These jokes are brought to you by our good friends at Cross Country Mortgage.
Yes, indeed. The incident is the second. He could have really lawn mowed some people down with that thing. The incident is the second time in recent months Cawthorn was found with a gun. As I said earlier, it was taken at Asheville Regional Airport after it was found in a bag at security in February of 2021. Update the safety brief. Can't do
I
it.
love how the Republican senator from North Carolina, Thomas Doom, I think is how you say his last name. He was talking about Cawthorn and saying that the young congressman has been found in wanting his first term. So I am going to go ahead and endorse somebody else. But I actually looked up what happened to Cawthorn, what he's done, like the types of stupid libo risk type of behavior. And that's what I want to say Madison Cawthorn is. I think he's just a liberty risk
Libo
at this
risk.
point. He really is. Listen to this shit just since he's been in office in 2 years. For the 2 years that he's been in office, in August of 2020, reports surfaced that in 2017, photos of Cawthorn posted on Instagram showing him visiting Eagle's Nest. So he went to Hitler's spot, the Alpine retreat of the Nazi dictator and mass murderer Adolf Hitler, along with his comment that he was, quote, visiting the vacation house of the Fuhrer and had been on his, quote, bucket list for a while. Then in August 12th of 2020, the news outlet AVL Watchdog reports that Cawthorn said that in a disposition, he was rejected from the Naval Academy before a 2014 car crash that left him paralyzed and required a wheelchair, even though he was said before that he did it after. He was rejected after. In October of 2020, he said that a bunch of his former college classmates said that he was constantly a well-documented case of vandalism and was often known to bring women to secluded areas for forcibly engaging in unwanted sexual advances. In November of 2020, he becomes the youngest person elected to Congress since Jed Johnson in 1964. As soon as he got elected, he tweeted at the loser of that race, "Cry more, lib," which I actually like. Like, I don't mind that. Like, if I was running for office, I definitely would go at my opponent and say, "Cry." I think that's what I would do there.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with that one. He was, in February of 2021, he was questioned for attempting to bring a handgun and a loaded magazine to an airport in Asheville. So he's done that before. And Cawthorn, and then in July, he gets in a shouting match on the floor and gets an ethics complaint. Then there's a video of him calling Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky a thug and incredibly evil, and that Zelensky has woke ideologies, and that's why Russian invasion of Ukraine actually happened. Then in 2022, he talked about how that sexual get-together and key bumps from cocaine parties and orgies. Then he got, in April of 2022, there was a dash cam release that he was pulled over without driving, or for driving with a revoked license. And that was the third time since he's been in Congress that that's happened. And now he had his vacation photos where he was in lingerie, which I don't have a problem with. And then Cawthorn is cited for having a gun in a carry-on bag once again at Charlotte Douglas International Airport. I don't have a problem with him in the picture. I do have a problem with him constantly going after the LGBTQ community and saying things like they're perverse while doing the same things under the guise of a joke. I think that that is wrong. It can't be good for me and not for thee. I don't appreciate that at all. Madison Cawthorn, absolute liberty risk. And for that reason, the whole squad, everybody listening, it's canceled.
Thanks
Liberty
a lot,
is
Madison.
Canceled. Liberty is ganked.
Shout to New York Magazine.
I was going to go to Vegas this weekend.
Oh, no.
I thought they had the best headline. Madison Cawthorn is trying to commit every possible scandal. He's like trying to hit for the politician's scandal cycle. The other thing that makes me irrationally angry about Madison Cawthorn, here, look, I'll send it to you guys. If you look at his Wikipedia page, you guys will know Wikipedia pages a lot of times, especially for politicians, will show their signature. His signature looks like he just learned cursive in 3rd grade. You look at it.
Yeah, it looks like a 3rd grader signature.
Mine's just a swirl. Mine's just a loop.
It basically looks like we might need he's going to write a little tiny heart over the I in Madison.
Yes, it does.
It looks like the kind of signature that you would practice in your Lisa Frank Trapper Keeper.
Yes.
I'll say this though, and this truly goes for both sides, left, right, Democrat, Republican, whatever. I don't think it matters anymore if you're a huge piece of shit. As long as the person in office it's like confirmation bias is singing your tune when it comes to stuff you believe, like you can pretty much, I feel like you can do anything now. You can be the biggest piece of shit in the world. And he's probably growing more fans by doing it. So like, I don't know, the guy's staying in the news. That's for sure.
No, unfortunately, you're right. You're right. Because
everybody knows he's a household name.
Right. But like, as long people always find ways to make excuses for politicians on both sides, they'll excuse away their bad behavior just to pump up, as you said, their talking points that they agree with. And it's ridiculous. So as much as it's on the politicians for being crappy people, it's on the people of the United States of America who continue to elect these people into office.
And you could just lie forever. Like Kevin McCarthy you're on tape saying that you were going to ask Trump to resign, and now you're saying that's not what you meant. Like, it's what you said. Like, but
But that's what I'm saying too. Like, people
say no forever, and then like 40% of America will be like, no, like that never happened, even though they fucking heard it. Like, they heard it happen. And they're still like, no, I don't believe my own ears.
Well, like, people don't care that he lied about the Naval Academy. Like, people don't care as long as he's still rolling. As long
All
as
that
he's
matters
still
is what you're actually putting on that little vote card when you're in Congress.
Yeah,
That's
it
the
doesn't
only thing that
matter.
matters.
So
yeah. How about speaking of wackadoos, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I saw today that she was just completely denying text messages that were clearly from her about January 6th.
That trial's been fascinating to watch.
yeah,
That's
been a hoot.
Um,
They're all nuts.
Did you
They're
call
all
Nancy
nuts.
Pelosi a traitor? No. Are you sure? You've been on like TV a bunch of
10
times.
different shows saying it.
saying it.
I saw an interview this morning where she's like, I don't know if you have it pulled up on the screen right now, but I just don't remember that. It's like, well, we're reminding you, we are showing text messages that are part of a legal document that were obtained from your phone. So you did say them. So here's your reminder.
I love those types of like true crimes where they have the video surveillance of people not confessing, denying it when they already have the entire act on video. To me, that just gets me going. Like, the idea of setting somebody up like that. I think if I was an attorney, that would be my favorite part, was setting people up for impeachment.
Oh, like asking them questions you already know you have the answer to.
You already know the answer to. Did you say this? And like, no, I didn't say it. Well, I'd like to introduce Exhibit B to the where you're actually saying that. It's like, I said fuck them and I want them to hang that bitch. Like,
this is fucked up, but I gotta tell you, many years ago, olden times, Katie in her 20s, I was with somebody for a long time who was scooting around on me a little bit. Who would do such a thing? Okay,
Madison.
But he would be scooting around. Yes. I got done work and I was like, oh, I'll be at home from work soon. He's like, oh, I went down to my grandparents' house to help them with some stuff this weekend. So whatever. I was like, oh, okay. Full disclosure, we were married. It's like, I'm helping my grandparents out this weekend. I was like, oh, okay, darn. I get off the bus.
Darn.
And who do I see standing outside a bar 2 blocks down? I said, oh,
your grandpa.
I thought he was at his grandparents' house about an hour and a half away this weekend. So I text him, I'm like, how's everything going at your grandparents? And I watch as he texts me back physically. Oh, it's good. I'm helping them replace the windows because the seasons are changing, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Had a whole conversation with him where he's telling me he was somewhere else. He was with another lady in the bar.
Did you say anything?
Oh my God. Yeah, buddy. It was one of the best moments of my life. I hyped myself up like I was in a fucking movie.
Oh,
you didn't see me speed walking down that block. I knocked a drink off a bar. I was screaming. It was great.
Oh man, I wish I was there for that.
God, I wish we had that on tape.
Yep. And actually, want to hear the craziest part? I believe it became one of the Barstool Fund bars up in Woodlawn in the Bronx.
Well, hey,
full circle.
Not the bar's fault.
Yeah, not the bar's fault
not
at
the
all.
bar's fault.
No.
I'm just saying. It's all I'm saying is this is weird. It's a good feeling.
What an idiot he was, though, to just go to a local spot. Like, if you're gonna do that,
I think that's really the theme of cheating. Like, even whenever you see people who are getting cheated on, if they catch somebody and can record it, you almost hear like a tinge of joy because they're like, this is happening either way, but I got you red-handed and your fucking mama's gonna see it.
I guess that's what I'm getting at.
So
like,
bad.
It was like the saddest moment of my life, like one of the saddest, but it was also, my heart was like, oh,
you're like crying, but secretly inside it's kind of like, let's fucking go.
Yes. Yeah, it was kind of a
I love that.
Too.
I mean, I saw one this week and it was this bad bitch attorney, and she does a lot of pro bono stuff for domestic violence cases and women that are suffering from domestic violence. And there, because so many court cases, they will do virtual where it's on Zoom and things like that now, even if it's a criminal case. Well, the woman that had been assaulted and the boyfriend were both on Zoom, and the woman's attorney noticed that her client's eyes kept like darting off to the side, and she noticed that the lighting in both of the Zooms was about the same and on the Zoom screens. And she said, Your Honor, I'd like to stop the proceedings and I would like to ensure that my client is safe right now. And the judge was like, well, we're on Zoom, they're separated. And he was like, if you could instruct my client to give the address where she currently is at, and then the other guy, like where he's at, She says the address that she's at. He gives a different address. Then you hear a knock on the door that comes from both screens that like delay just a little bit. And the judge tells the woman, take your phone with you so I can see you on Zoom, and go open the door. The cops come in. The guy that had been abusing the woman was in the same living room as she was, watching her about to testify, and was going to make it not happen. And the attorney looked like so relieved that she did that. And the judge commended her and was like, that's some of the best lawyering that I've ever seen, like how observant you were in that moment. And you could see the look of relief on her face. And the guy's look was just like, I am so fucked.
When you catch somebody,
because the jurors were in there, the jurors were on the Zoom, they were seeing it, and the judge was there. You lied to the judge, and it's going to make you get convicted for domestic violence. It was like a double, triple whammy all at one time.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Technology, man.
At the end of the episode, we're like, let's just spill some tea.
Let's just fucking dish.
Let's just
put down our
not to make
pocketbook
you
and dish.
Relive a bad moment. But do you remember what you said when you burst through the doors of that bar?
Well, that's the thing.
Mother.
He still continued denying it, even though I was right there. He was right in front. Like, he still made me feel like I was crazy. Even
he
he gaslit me until the end. Even when the proof was right in front of my face, he was like, "No, you're making this up." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "What? No, I'm not making this up."
You are literally here.
I see you. I see you.
I do not see your grandparents anywhere in this bar.
You're still gripping her like a bowling ball.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. There was many occasions where it was stuff like I had the proof and he would tell me I was wrong, and he was so good at it. I'd be like, I guess I'm crazy. I guess he's right. And man, forget it. Don't put up with it, ladies.
Let's move on to save rounds and alibis. Kate, we'll start with you.
First of all, I'm recording this in the internet's been a little wonky at HQ lately, so recording from home. I've done the whole episode with this rainbow trout on my finger.
Of course you have.
I just thought you guys should know.
All right, Cons, what about you?
Yep. A few things. Number one, as we record this hasn't happened yet. Chaps, who are you hoping to get in the NFL draft?
Oh, I kind of want Icky, the guard from North Carolina State. Is who I want.
Okay, that's not who I expected you to say, but okay.
I don't think Hutchinson or Trayvon Walker are going to be real impact players that deserve the number one pick. I think they'll be fine and like serviceable players. But at the number one pick, even if it's not like a super position that you would normally put in a lot of resources, I think having a guy who has the ability to be an all-pro guard and possibly a Pro Bowl type right tackle if you need one in the season, I think you do that. Pair him up with Brandon Sheriff, and you have a great offensive line all of a sudden.
There's only one super position, if you ask me.
Doggy.
Reverse cowgirl.
Okay.
And then
the old rainbow trout reverse.
Yep, straight up through the tits and out the mouth.
Hook them right by the gills.
Exactly right.
Just good luck on Saturday. Army Rugby's playing for the national championship.
Oh, where?
Down in Houston.
That's
so if you're in the Houston area, go check them out against St. Mary's.
I've been
Lacrosse
watching
is still
college.
doing well too, right?
Yeah, we lost to Navy last weekend. Womp womp. That kind of stunk. We lost in overtime. Bummer, but we'll still have a good seed for the Patriot League tournament. And if we win the Patriot League, we'll make the NCAAs. But that was a disappointing.
Is there any type of award that goes, let's say, full academic calendar year, Army versus Navy sports?
Yeah, it's called the Star Series. And I feel like you know all the answers to this question and you're merely just asking.
I'm really not. This one I'm not. I'm not setting it up. I know that they have the Commander-in-Chief's trophy for football.
No. It's called the Star Series, where you add up all of the times in every sport that you play each other in a given year. Yeah.
Oh, who's currently got that?
Oh, Navy's well ahead of us right now. And they're too far ahead.
All right.
Oh, wow. Well, we should keep a running tracker of that.
We should.
Yeah.
I did a Rocky Boots fact that's coming out soon. Who are the highest paid among the highest paid people in the entire Department of Defense?
Individuals?
Has to be like the Army head coach.
It's the coaches.
It's Army, Navy, and Air Force's head football coaches are.
Yeah, those guys are all clearing over $1 million.
They're like the top. I don't know what it is now, but like as of last year, like Dr. Fauci was number one, and then it was the football coaches.
And what it makes sense, really, because if you look at state governments too, it's the same exact way. Like Nick Saban makes like 5 or 6, or $8 or $9 million a year now at Alabama, and nobody else is, except for the other major universities. Nobody's within like 5 or 6 million of Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that.
Yeah.
There's only like 4 or 5 states that it's not that way. And I think the one that it's not, it's the president of Johns Hopkins University is the one who gets it, who came in on top. And then it's usually like a university president that's a doctor too, like an actual medical doctor that's doing it. Wild though. You're right, Kate. That's crazy. Did you have anything
right.
else? I cut you off.
That's all I
Did I
got.
have anything else? One quick thing. You said Icky for the name of the football player.
Mhm.
Brianna Chicken Fry on Plan Brie was talking about, I guess it's the thing now to say, like when people give you, it's called the ick. When you
Yeah.
meet somebody right away and your
That's what the
spidey
kids are
sense
saying,
goes,
yeah.
I don't
Mhm.
like them. And she said, like, once you get the ick from someone, they never recover from it. My first
Wow.
thought was, oh God, I probably gave Brianna Chicken Fry the ick at some point for just being weird by the coffee machine or something. So I'm paranoid. The second thought was, and then KFC Radio and them were talking about it, like the ick, you get the, and it just made me think of, I can right away, I thought of 2 people that came into our unit that right away, I was like, the ick, got the ick right away. And one of them ended up getting arrested for some crazy shit. But anyway, trust your ick stink.
This
my
is real
message.
weird. Like what just happened the last 2 or 3 minutes was real.
That was
odd.
all just a build up for that
Yeah.
line right there.
Chaps can tell you, I've been in an anxiety spiral the last couple of weeks, like crazy town tinfoil hat, like I'm losing my mind. So that was probably what that was.
Can't confirm. So one thing that I wanted to add when we were talking about the chief petty officer of the Navy is it's something that I do tell Kate a lot, and I get caught in the trap too. So remind the listeners, don't let comparisons be the thief of your joy. Like if you're looking around and you're trying to constantly compare, I can't be sad because this is happening somewhere else in the world. I can't be sad because of this. What's happening in your own individual life is important and it's valid and it is important. Like, and to try to ignore that, you're doing yourself a disservice. So don't let comparison be the thief of your joy. And secondly, I do want, even though we shit on President Biden, they did the right thing in a prisoner exchange that took place over the weekend. Trevor Reed, a former Marine from Texas who had been held in a Russian prison camp for 9 years, has finally been released, according to a statement from the foreign ministry. So that happened, and we had to give up some like drug dealers and shit like that from Russia in order to make that happen. Very happy for him and his family that he's finally released after 9 years. Great job by President Biden and Secretary Blinken and all those that are involved in those kinds of decisions. I'm sure that his family has relief that they haven't experienced in the last decade that he's finally coming home. So congratulations to him. We'll see you guys back here next week. Looking forward to it. It's On the Retreat.